For those of you just joining, welcome to Tutor Tuesday. Yeah, today I'm going to teach some SAT, ACT, and AMC math questions. So I have a section for each. And there's also a section for community submitted questions if you guys have any related questions that I'd be able to solve. Very studious indeed. While you guys are here, I do have a newsletter where I do an SAT weekly tip. I also have social medias where I post videos that are similar to this, similar to these question solving tips. And I also have other SAT and ACT resources. So if you guys want, you can check out explore.dancetestprep.com. But yeah, like I said, we're going to start with some warm-up SAT problems that shouldn't be too difficult. Then we can move into our ACT math. And finally, we can move to the AMC. I kind of have these in the wrong order. Let me rearrange that real quick. But that's basically how it's going to go. And if you guys have any questions that you want to cover that are related to like SAT or ACT, you can submit them in the chat and I'll paste them in because I have a few slots for open questions. Okay. AP Calc, nice. These are usually what I teach, and I do have a TikTok. It's at Dance Test Prep. Okay, now that everyone's here, let's go ahead and start with our first SAT problem. And I hope that some of you guys in the chat will be able to get this one as well. A cube has an edge length of 41 inches. What is the volume in cubic inches of the cube? Guys, I'm going to give you like 3 seconds to do this one, and you better get it. Let's see what our answers are. 66 has got it, is D. And yes, you do get a calculator on all of the new digital SAT math problems. So you could literally plug this in to your calculator, 41 cubed, which is 68,921. And I'm pretty sure they give you like a formula sheet on the SAT as well. So if you didn't know the volume of a cube, you should be able to look it up. But I think that everybody should know this one. Alright, we got a bunch of answers for D. That is correct. Now we got an open-ended math question. Number 21. The graph of 9x minus 10y equals 19 is translated down 4 units in the xy plane. What's the x-coordinate of the x-intercept of the resulting graph? Resulting graph is a keyword here. Okay, so in order to find out the resulting graph, you could definitely just graph this in Desmos and try to solve it that way. But let's say you wanted to solve it out by hand. What I would do is get this into slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b, which means that we'd get something like, let me move the 10y onto one side, and then we're left with 9x minus 19. Then if you divide everything by 10, we get y equals 9/10 x minus 19 over 10. Okay, so from here, we want to shift the whole graph down by 4 units. So what I do here is I could then subtract the 4, and we know that 4 is equal to 40 over 10. So really it's y, what we get is y equals 9/10 x minus 59 over 10. And if we plug in y equals to 0, because that's what a x-intercept means, right? That's y equals 0. Then we get 0 equals 9/10 x minus 59 over 10. And of course that just means that 9/10 x is equal to 59 over 10. Or if you solve for x, we get that x is equal to 59 over 9. You could also grid in a decimal like 6.555. Wow. No chat messages for that one. Was that all clear to follow? Awesome. I'm going to show you guys how to do it on Desmos as well. Wait. Oh, I'm not sharing my... I'm only sharing that tab. Okay. If you want to do it on Desmos, you could plug in your original equation, but replace the y with y plus 4. And then, because that symbolizes a shift of down 4 in the y direction. And then when you plot that out, you'd see that it also gets you that x value of 59 over 9. Let me take a snip of my Desmos screen right here and paste it into right here. You guys see that right there? You replace the original equation, but you put in y plus 4 in place of y. And then it actually has an x-intercept right at that 59 over 9. That's an alternate solution. Okay. Definitely is faster to just graph it. Let's go on to the next question. Two variables, x and y, are related such that for each increase of 1 in the value of x, the value of y increases by a factor of 4. So it's multiplicative. This is going to be some kind of exponential equation. They also tell us that when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 200. So that's our initial value. And that 4 is our growth rate. So already I can rule out A and B because those have an initial value of 4. Initial, let me do it in a different color. These two will not be good. You could see that if I plugged in x equal to 0, then I'm just going to get an initial value of 4. That doesn't match up with what they told us in the question. And last, between C and D, let's see if the chat has any opinions. Yes, the growth factor is the B term. Also, I do have an answer key. D, yeah. Everyone's saying D, and D is correct. That's your growth factor right there of 4. This is saying for every increase in x, we're going to multiply that thing by 4. So it's got to be D. If you plot out answer choice C, it's going to raise x to the 4th power. That's not necessarily multiplying the whole thing by 4. But this right here is basically saying we have a base of 4. If we have 4 to the 1st power, that's 1 multiple of 4. 4 squared would be multiplying by 4 again. If we do like 4 cubed, we multiply by 4 again. So it's always going to grow by a factor of 4. So that's going to be the exponential equation we want. And last, for these digital SAT questions, we've got number 24, which is dealing with dot plots. So the dot plots represent distributions of values in datasets A and B. Which of the following statements must be true? Must be true. The median of dataset A is equal to the median of dataset B. Alright, do you guys think that's true or not? Let's evaluate 1. I'll let you think about this first one. And then number 2, the standard deviation of dataset A is equal to the standard deviation of dataset B. what I can see here, the median is the middle number. As in, if you organized all the data like it is here, where you have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on, the middle number is the median. And if you cross off all the outer data and you work your way towards the middle, you see both of them have a median of 13. So definitely the first part is true. This part is true. The standard deviation of dataset A is equal to the standard deviation of dataset B. Well, the standard deviation, you don't even need to calculate it, although you probably could at like some easy way in Desmos for the digital SAT. you you don't need to calculate it. You can just look at the shape of these graphs and look at how much variation there is in the data set, or how much does it deviate from the average for the mean. They both average around 13, but to me it looks like the variation is slightly higher for dataset B. This one has a higher variation or higher deviation, because you can see dataset A has more points located right at the mean, versus dataset B has a few points that are located further outside of the mean, which would mean that the standard deviation, or on average the data, is further out. So definitely, unless the shapes are the same, the standard deviation is not going to be equal. And that makes it answer choice A, or one only. Danny, do you actually like want to talk? I can add you. If you want to set up a session, you can talk to Gohar. Hopefully you guys understood this one on the deviation. Awesome. Okay, now we should move on to our ACT problems. For the ACT, is going to be some similar problems, but just a little bit different. They test like different math skills. Number 37 here says Suzanne and Chad are going to bake and deliver cookies to college students during final exam week. They estimate it will cost $4 for the ingredients to make each batch of cookies and $50 to buy the mixer, bowls, and other utensils. So for me, I'm already noting down in my head that $4 is a variable cost, right? It depends on how many batches of cookies you make, and $50 is a fixed cost. And that will help us set up our linear equation, because it's probably going to be modeled by a linear equation if we look at our answer choices. And then they decide to sell the cookies for $5 per batch. So $5 is another variable cost, but they're related to the same variable. So the total profit, P, is going to be equal to the revenue minus the costs. And if you're a business major, ooh, you better remember that. The revenue that they're going to make is $5 per batch of cookie, and then the costs are going to be $4 per batch of cookie. And then we also have to subtract our fixed cost. So the fixed cost is just going to be that $50. So when we simplify everything here, the total profit that they're going to make is $1 per batch of cookies, after considering the $5 they sell it and the $4 for ingredients, minus the flat cost of $50 to get everything set up. This is what you learn in your Intro to Business class in college. Yeah, answer choice E. Revenue is just the amount of money you make. And I guess it just depends. Like for here, it's just going to be $5 per batch. For the next one, I'm going to do some nice different colors here. Green. Number 45. For all real numbers, a, b, and c, which of the following expressions is equal to the absolute value of a minus b minus c? Okay, immediately, you could start plugging in numbers for a, b, and c. That might work if you try to brute force it. What I'll do is try to rewrite this expression inside the absolute value somehow. So I could factor out a negative and make this negative a plus b plus c. You see how I just factored out that initial negative sign, and then everything in my parentheses flipped signs. But this can also be rewritten as the absolute value of negative 1 times the absolute value of that negative a plus b plus c. And of course we know that the absolute value of negative 1 is just equal to 1. So it's 1 times the absolute value negative a plus b plus c, which should lead us to answer choice D. Alright, I see some answers. D. Yep. Next ACT math problem. We're going to be dealing with number 50. The fraction 2/7 is equivalent to 0.285714 repeating. This bar on top means that it's repeating, infinitely repeating decimal sequence. What is the digit in the 1001st decimal place of 285714 repeating? And it says, note, the digit in the 4th decimal place of 285714 is 7. I don't know, how would you guys approach this? You could start writing out 0.285714, 285714, 285714, and you could actually count out to the 1001st place, but that would probably take a really long time. So what I would suggest you guys do is look for patterns. So in green here I have the actual sequence. Maybe I can label each digit underneath. So this is the first digit, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10, 11, 12, and so on. And you can match these digits to their corresponding value. So yeah, I don't know why they said this, but you can definitely see that the fourth, oh, maybe just so you get the positioning right, so that we can see that the digit in the 4th decimal place is 7. So now we've got kind of our bearings. What I notice is that I can split this sequence up right around here. I can also split it right here. It repeats every 6 digits, which means if I, for example, ask you to find the value of the 11th digit, it's actually the same as the 5th digit. You can look here and see the 11th digit and the 5th digit are both 1. Basically, we can take 11 modulo 6, if you guys know what that means, get to the 5th digit, and just look at these first 6 digits to find the value. So 66 is saying this is 166 and 5/6. Yeah, let me check on my calculator, though I trust you. And we get, when we do 1001 divided by 6, that's equal to 166 whole sequences. We've gone through 166 of these, plus we have a remainder of 5. Right, this is a remainder of 5. Just like if we did 11 over 6, you can start with a very simple example and just compare that you're doing this right. 11 over 6 is equal to 1 remainder, or 1 and 5, 6. That's 1 remainder 5. So similar to this case right here, we have a remainder of 5. And that means we're going to be looking at the 5th place. Let me label that right there. 5th decimal place, which would mean that you are at a value of 1 in your sequence. It'd be this 1 right here. That's going to be answer choice F. Yeah, you don't really learn this in like your regular math classes, at least in high school, which is why I find it interesting that they put it on the ACT. But you would learn something like this in like, oh, comp sci. Yeah, I never had comp sci courses. Logical reasoning, yeah, it's all logic. And like someone mentioned, discrete math kind of teaches you that logical mathematics. Alright, what do we got next? 52. This is the last ACT problem. The SAT and ACT, well, the SAT is going to be going like full digital now. So the ACT is going to be a paper test. That's a big difference. And yeah, the ACT has some more advanced topics. So let's see. Number 52 is asking, at what point in the standard xy coordinate plane do the asymptotes of the function y equals 2x times x plus 2 over x minus 3 below intersect? That's kind of a mouthful. Well, already I can see very easily a vertical asymptote at x equals 3. So I can plot that right here. Because plotting that, you would see that the function would approach, if I extended this function, it would approach that asymptote, but it would never cross it. And that's because of the nature of the function here. We have an x minus 3 in a denominator, and plugging in x equals 3 would make it undefined. So that's going to be one vertical asymptote where the function is getting infinitely close, but never actually touching. And the other one you can see here, maybe less obvious, there's a slant asymptote right here. There's a slant asymptote, which we can find if we do the long division of this whole function. So I'm going to expand it out and get 2x squared plus 2x, and we're going to divide that by the x minus 3. And I want to move that. Oh, I can't really move that. So if you haven't done long division before, I mean, I think you should have learned it for numbers in like school, but you can do it for polynomials as well. So x minus 3 goes into 2x squared. Off. Synthetic division. Yeah, synthetic division is quicker. I kind of just forgot how to do it. So I'm going to show you the long division way. I know that x minus 3 goes into 2x squared 2x times. And then when I multiply these two, the 2x and the x minus 3, I'm going to subtract off the 2x squared minus 6x from here. And that's going to give us, what's this? That'll get 0, and then plus 8x. Now, x minus 3 goes into 8x 8 times. So I'm going to put an 8 up here, and then multiplying those together, we subtract off our 8x minus 24. That gives us just a remainder of 24. And x minus 3 can no longer go into 24. So the function, if I rewrite it 2x, x plus 2 over x minus 3, is equivalent to 2x plus 8 minus the remainder of 24 over the, I think that's called a divisor, that we couldn't get rid of. But you can see the main part we're interested in here is this 2x plus 8. That's going to be actually the equation of the slant line. That's going to help us find the intersection point right here. The intersection between 2x plus 8 and x plus 3 is just going to be where x equals 3, right? So if we evaluate that, 2x plus 8 or 2 times 3 plus 8, we get no, I definitely did something wrong there, because I'm not getting the answer I need. Yeah, 314, which isn't an option. So I don't know, guys. I see what I did wrong. And it's when I multiplied this thing out, this should actually be 2x squared plus 4x on the numerator. That 2x and 2 makes 4x. So if I go back and I fix my mistakes here, let's see what we get. Going back here, 2x squared plus 4x, so that's still 2x. X minus 3, okay, that's minus 6x. This becomes 10x. And then x goes into 10x about 10 times. Then we can subtract off a 10x minus 30, although the remainder didn't really matter at this point. The remainder is 30. Sweet. That becomes 2x plus 10. So 2x plus 10, or 2 times 3 plus 10, gives us, this point is located at 3, 16, which has got to be answer choice J. That makes sense? I'll post this PDF in a chat afterwards if you guys want to review it. I know some people can't see the problem. And maybe for these last few AMC problems I can try resharing my screen. But I hope the rest of you don't get kicked off. See, let me know if you can see that now. I can see. Awesome. Now you can't. Okay, I'm gonna keep pasting in the questions in the chat. I know 66 is already Math Pro, so you could probably solve it before I finish explaining it. Unless you guys have some questions to submit for me to solve that are like related to the SAT and ACT, then I'm gonna go and answer some AMC math problems. Our first one, it's a little bit of a warm-up problem. The numbers 3, 5, 7, A, and B have an average of 15. Okay, so I'm immediately going to start setting up that equation. Divide by 5 equals 15. What is the average of A and B? So we want to find the A plus B over 2. What does that equal to? What I could real easily do is just start evaluating this. So 3 plus 5 plus 7 becomes 15 plus A plus B. And then this 15 times 5 will get us 75 on the right hand side. We just multiply everything by 5. Then if we subtract 15, we can get A plus B is equal to 60. Or take the average, or A plus B over 2 gives us 30. So hopefully you guys got answer choice C. Alright, yeah, we got C. Next AMC math problem. What is the sum of all real numbers, x, for which the absolute value of x squared minus 12x plus 34 equals to 2? Whenever I deal with absolute values, I like immediately start writing the two cases, and that would be two cases. We have x squared minus 12x plus 34 is equal to 2. And we have x squared minus 12x plus 34 is equal to negative 2. Because if you think about it, if this part that's inside the absolute value, if that equals to the negative version of the answer, if that equals to negative 2, then the absolute value bars will just turn that positive and make it into a positive 2. So, and actually I can even like write this in a different color right on the side here. Let me do like a nice purple. X squared minus 12x plus 34 equals to negative 2. So maybe I can consolidate everything into, let's start with case 1, the positive case. Let me start by subtracting 2 from both sides, right? So we get x squared minus 12x plus 32 is equal to 0. Then we get x minus 8 times x minus 4 is equal to 0, because that's easily factorable to multiply these two numbers to 32 and add to negative 12. And that would mean the solutions are x is equal to 8 and x is equal to 4. If we did the same thing for the purple equation, the negative case, we get x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals to 0. And this one's actually factorable as a perfect square, which is x minus 6 times x minus 6 equals 0. For this one, it's just going to be x equals 6. Now if you take the sum of all these numbers, we're going to do 8 plus 4 plus 6 is going to be 18. That's going to be the sum. So the answer should be answer choice C. Damn, that looks like a hard SAT question. But yeah, I'll add it into the list. Right there. Dang. Hi Oliver, you're back. A, B, B, C. Alright, we'll go over that one in a bit. Let me go over these last two AMC math problems, and then we'll go through the community questions. This one's interesting. 7 cubes whose volumes are 1, 8, 27, 64, 125, 216, and 343 cubic units are stacked vertically to form a tower in which the volumes of the cubes decrease from bottom to top. Okay, so the volume is equal to the side length cubed. So if the volume equals to 1, the side length is going to be equal to 1. The volume equals 8, the side length is going to be 2. Volume equals 27, side length equals 3, and so on. So what we have is basically if I draw it out for you guys, it's the 7 by 7 by 7 cube. Then on top of that we stack the 6 by 6 by 6 cube, and so on until we get to the 2 by 2 by 2 and the 1 by 1 by 1 cube. So it kind of forms like that pyramid structure. And except for the bottom cube, the bottom face of each cube lies completely on top of the cube below it. What is the total surface area of the tower, including the bottom, in square units? Seems kind of simple. What we could try to do is find the total surface area, the surface area of everything, of all the cubes, up to the 7 by 7, and then we could subtract off whatever part is obscured. Right, so the surface area for a cube, surface area is equal to 6 times the side length squared, right? Because we have 6 faces, all of which are a perfect square. So the surface area is equal to 6 times 7 squared plus 6 times 6 squared, 6 times 5 squared. I would write this as a summation because it's way faster, but I want to make sure that everyone gets this. Or actually, for those of you who do know summation notation, you could just represent this like the sum from I equals, or let's say like n equals 1 to 7 of 6n squared. And then we have to subtract off those areas which are going to be covered. Well, for each cube, like for the 7 by 7 cube, an area of a 6 by 6 face is going to be covered. So I could subtract off, like for the 7 by 7 cube, I could subtract off, let me do like this, 6 squared. Let me do it in gray. Minus 6 squared. That's going to be that bottom face of the 6 by 6 by 6, that we're going to have to subtract that because that's being obscured when it's laying on top of the 7 by 7 by 7. We also have to subtract off 5 squared, subtract off 4 squared, subtract off 3 squared, subtract off 2 squared, and finally 1 squared for when the 1 by 1 by 1 is sitting on top of that cube, the 2 by 2 by 2, it's going to be obscuring one tile, one tiny little tile. And then of course there's going to be nothing obscuring the 1 by 1 by 1. That's the smallest cube. If you wanted to represent this as a summation, let me write it down here in the shorthand notation. This is the sum of n equals 1 to 7 of, we have 6n squared, and then we're subtracting off n minus 1 squared. I believe that's correct. And let me write this in gray actually, minus, to color code it between the two. Let's just go ahead and evaluate that. So I'm going to plug this into my calculator. Oh, did I not send it? Oh, shoot. Let me send you guys an updated of my progress so far. I mean, the problem is almost done. We just need to evaluate it. So I'm going to plug everything into my calculator And I'm going to get 6 times 7 squared plus 6 times 6 squared plus... I think the calculator should also have sigma notation if... but I don't have my calculator on me. 6 times 2 squared plus 6 times 1 squared. We subtract off 6 squared, 5 squared, 4 squared, 3 squared, 2 squared, and 1 squared. So the final answer that I got was 749. That doesn't seem right. Oh, well, because we need to count that this surface area is being subtracted from both ends of the cubes, right? So we're actually going to have to subtract, not only are we going to subtract the 6 squared from this 7 by 7 by 7, but that surface area is also going to get subtracted from the 6 by 6 by 6 cube. So if we subtract off the plus 2 times, if we subtract off 2 times all of that gray part right there to ensure that we're double counting for all of the faces that are being covered on both cubes, we're going to get a solution of 658 square units. That would make it answer choice B. The total surface area of this tower is going to be 658. I have one more AMC math problem. Hopefully this one isn't going to be too difficult. A driver travels for 2 hours at 60 miles per hour, during which her car gets 30 miles per gallon of gasoline. She's paid at 50 cents per mile, and her only expense is gasoline at $2 per gallon. What is her net rate of pay in dollars per hour after this expense? This sounds like similar to the SAT actually. Maybe a little dimensional analysis problem. So let's see. Travels at 60 miles per hour for 2 hours. So let me write this in purple. 2 hours times 60 miles per hour. Hours and hours will cancel out. Maybe this color. Hours and hours cancel out. And we get 30 miles per gallon of gasoline, which I can flip and say that she drives on 1 gallon, she can drive for 30 miles. And then we can even cancel out the miles. So in 2 hours, we spend, what do we got? 4 gallons of gasoline. 4 gallons in 2 hours. And then we can also consider the 30 miles, sorry, I already did that. The 50 cents per mile, which 50 cents per mile, 50 cents per mile times, in those 2 hours, she drove 60 miles per hour. Oh, sorry. Miles, miles, hours, hours. So the total pay for those 2 hours It's going to be $60. $60 pay in 2 hours. And the only expense that we have is $2 per gallon for gasoline. So if she spent 4 gallons of gas, that's going to be 4 gallons times $2 per gallon. The gallons and gallons will cancel out. She has to pay out of pocket $8, $8 of costs in 2 hours. If we consolidate all those numbers, she gets the total profit that she gets in 2 hours is $60 minus $8. That's $52 for every 2 hours. Or if you simplify that, that's just going to be $26 per hour. So that would be our final answer. AMC, well, these are some easier AMC problems. And you can just Google like AMC AMC practice problems. Let me find it for you guys. AMC 2020 AMC 10A. AMC is American Mathematics Competitions. So it's like for people who actually really like math. If you heard of like math counts, I think it's similar to that. You got the answer, nice. Okay, what I've got next, I think just one person submitted this SAT practice problem. I had never seen this problem before. So let's go at it from our very first time. And let me paste the picture. Yeah, you could send a calculus problem. I might deny it though if I don't know how to solve it. A cookie? I'm sorry. Alright, in the figure above, AC is the diameter of the circle. If AC is equal to 1, which of the following gives the area of triangle ABC in terms of theta? Okay. I know for area, let's write out our little handy formula for area, which is that area of a triangle is equal to the base times height divided by 2. I see some divide by 2's here. That might be useful. What I could consider is two possibilities. I could have, I can't find a color I like. Either case 1, base is equal to 1, height is equal to that orange line. Then the height could be equal to hold on. I'm not sure. So let me do case 2, which I see another way to approach this problem, and that would be for the let me do it in different colors as well. Your case 2, you could set the base as the side length BC, and you could set your height as the side AB. Let me take this triangle and redraw it so that it's flipped in a more natural way. It would look something like this. Let me draw that in blue. Where your theta is actually right here. All I did was basically like flip this upside down. In that case, you can see that taking sine of theta from here, remember your SOHCAHTOA, sine is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So the sine would be equal to AB. And then the cosine of theta, cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So the cosine would be equal to BC. So I would say for this one, if we look at area equals base times height over 2, remember we found our base was cosine of theta, looking at the triangle in the purple and pink orientation. The height was sine theta, and we have to divide by 2. So I would see this matches with answer choice D. And let me paste that in a chat for our math enthusiasts who can't see the problem right now. I hope that was clear for you guys to follow. Okay, let me see this calculus problem. Maybe this will be our last one. Given 2a plus 3b plus 6c equals 0, what interval can be guaranteed to contain at least one root of ax squared plus bx plus c? Man, I don't know. It takes integration. Oh, yeah, maybe we should post a solution later. Or give me a hint. Rolle's theorem. It's kind of been a while since I took calculus. It's, is it the one where you have like 2 points equal to each other and it passes through, it has at least like a 0 on the way back there? Nice. Yeah, these are kind of tough. I'm gonna officially end Tutor Tuesday, but I'll stay on and maybe like try to solve this problem with your help. So thank you guys for joining. Don't forget, you can check out more resources at explore.danstestprep.com, which is like my TikTok and my YouTube. Also my newsletter where I post helpful SAT tips. And I'll post a PDF and a summary of this in the chat afterwards. Which website?